Marissa Harris. Hi Chris, I was just wondering what your opinion is on Scientology private schools. Schools such as Delphi Academy. Why do they advertise their schools as an applied scholastic school and withhold the information of a Scientology link? Well, my opinion of Scientology schools is they are not something that I would ever send any child to if I wanted him to have a well-rounded and decent education free of undue influence from L. Ron Hubbard. Because all applied scholastic schools utilize Hubbard's study technology, and that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, to look up words you don't understand or demonstrate concepts you don't understand. There's nothing like really weird or crazy or strange about that. But with the Scientology influence, many of these schools utilize Hubbard's ethics and justice system, and that is just flat out destructive. It creates a sort of big brother kind of situation where reports are being written on other students for infractions and whatnot that they see, and you get this sort of system going on that's kind of a Hitler Youth sort of thing, and I can't support that at all or recommend anything like that. The ethics and justice system that Hubbard pushes is 100% destructive. And Jeff Hawkins has written a great book analysis on that, and I'll put a link to it in the description below, so you can check that out. That's on Amazon, and that's just it's way too much for me to get into a micro summary of what's wrong with Hubbard's ethics and justice system, because it's legion, and literally an entire book has been written about it. So I don't need to go back over all of that, except to say I would never have anything to do with it, and I would never let any of my children anywhere near it. Otherwise, in terms of why they don't mention the Scientology link, I mean, because the word Scientology is completely toxic and nobody wants to have anything to do with it. But they don't necessarily understand what applied scholastics is, or know that applied scholastics is a front group for Scientology. It's a group that is manned and run by Sea Org members at its very highest level, and it is at its level of administration. And that group pushes Hubbard's study technology, and all of the licensing and use of the marks of Dianetics and Scientology, the trademarks and service marks, are licensed through Applied Scholastics to those schools. So they will refer to the Hubbard method of study, or the study technology, or Hubbard study methods, but they won't say Scientology, because they're basically cowards and don't want people to make those two connections right away, because of course people will stay the hell away from them. So, and then they won't be making money. But the other thing to know about those private schools is they're almost entirely populated by Scientologists' kids. So, like Delphi in Oregon and Delphi in Los Angeles, and I think there's some other Delphi or some other school like that in Florida. And those schools, that are where Scientologists pay a lot of money to send their children, right? So it's all just part of the whole, culture of Scientology, that those schools exist, and parents, rightfully so, can be frustrated with the public school system. I'm not sitting here saying that the alternative of public schools is so wonderful, because I know there's tons of problems in the educational system. And so Scientologists, trusting L. Ron Hubbard and trusting his methodology, think that that's a viable alternative for their kids. And purely educational wise, I don't know, I don't particularly have a problem with how they go about educating the kids from within my knowledge of how those Delphi schools or the private schools operate in the Scientology world. That's not my problem with them. The quality of the education is not my issue. My issue is everything else that goes on with that. Very destructive, and not something that any child should have to grow up with. So that's my opinion.